talk about blooming yeast. We bloom yeast before we put it into a recipe for yeast spreads. Blooming the yeast is required when you have the larger granules of yeast. If you have instant yeast, you don't really have to bloom it. It is always active, but we bloom it to make sure that it is active. Yeast can sit in your cabinet for too long. It can be, you know, at the store too long. So that's why you want to double check expiration dates, but you also can bloom it before you put it into your recipe, because you hate to put a lot of effort in only to find that your yeast was dead and you have to start all over. So I'm going to take a full packet. This is a 1/4 ounce packet, and put it right in. Now my recipe calls for a 1/2 cup of water, of warm water, but the end result also calls for sugar. As part of the blooming process, you want to feed the yeast, and what will happen is it will start to grow and create a gas. That gas is what gives your bread lift. So what we're looking for is, as I fill this with the water, and I'm going to add some sugar to feed the yeast, it's going to create a froth that is going to look ridiculous how large it's going to grow in the cup. So you want to put this in something bigger than your end result, because it's going to grow if your yeast is good. So what we're going to do is I'm only going to add about a tablespoon of my sugar from my other recipe. That's all you need. That'll feed the yeast plenty. And then we'll add our 1/2 cup of water, and we're going to give it a good stir, and then we're going to let it sit. And you'll watch as it sits, it should become this beautiful fluffy, and you'll be able to smell it almost like someone's baking bread in your kitchen. But it's just the process of the yeast starting to basically wake up and get to work. By the time we're done with this, it's going to have a head on it. We're going to use water that's between 100 and 110 degrees. That way we don't kill the yeast, but we kind of wake it up and get it going. All right. Now, we're going to add that to our yeast and sugar mix. Give it a good stir, because you kind of want it all to incorporated, and that sugar in there should get it brewing and get the yeast foaming. So we're going to leave that sit and let it do its thing, and then we can pour that into our recipe. We are checking on our blooming yeast, and as you can tell, it's starting to build this frothy head, which means our yeast is good. We've got good growth, we've got it doing things, so we're ready to use this in our recipe.